Okay, internet friends, here is an update on the generator installation saga situation extraordinaire, especial, and so on and so forth. It is December 1st, Wednesday, December 1st, 2021. Now here's what has happened since the delivery of the generator, which I think was the last piece that I put up. Gas line installation is obviously a critical part. This generator runs on natural gas. And so we needed to get the gas from where it comes in. I have a thing for that. Where it comes in here in my basement. And had to get that to where the generator is, which I guess if I turn around 180 degrees is on the other side of that wall. So the way that we were planning to do this was to run a gas line out through here. There's already a bunch of stuff that goes out through this wall, and then trench underground all the way to the back of the house and then come out where the generator is. So last week the folks came to do the installation and they said, why don't we just thread this new gas pipe all the way down through the floor joists above this ceiling here, and we'll drill a hole in the side of your house and have it pop out on the outside, and then we can avoid all that trenching along the side of the house. And they did that, and they did a nice job. I think they did a nice job. So they came up here, they put in larger pipe here because we're going to need more capacity, and they teed it off over here. So previously what I had was a line that goes to my boiler, which we'll talk about in a minute, and a line that goes to my kitchen, which we'll very much talk about in a minute. And they added this here, so this new black pipe, which doesn't reflect the laser very well, but this new black pipe here goes around and up and shoots out over that way and comes out to connect to the generator. So that's pretty awesome. They worked really hard, they did a good job. But of course there is always a but. This cannot be turned on until it is inspected. And the inspection process consists of pressurizing the line with air while the inspector comes over and waits 15 minutes to make sure that the pressure doesn't drop. So after they installed this, the installers did a quick test. That's not the one with the inspector. We'd have to schedule that for the inspector to come another time. But they did a test before they left, and they told me it didn't work. They put in 4.5 psi of air pressure and it dropped to 4 psi, and that indicates that there is a leak somewhere in the existing plumbing. Unfortunately, I'm told because I have an inside meter, whatever the rules are here for the place where I live, you don't just test the new stuff, you have to test the whole system, including all the legacy piping. And so while that very, very, very slow, very small leak is not enough to be like leaking dangerous amounts of natural gas into my house, and in fact may not be leaking at all because the gas only runs at 1/4 psi, where they test it at 4.5, so it leaks a tiny, tiny little bit at 4.5. It might not leak at all at 1/4. Nevertheless, unless the pressure holds completely steady for 15 minutes, it will not pass inspection and I will not be able to have my generator hooked up. So now besides just having a leak, I also have a delay because I already have to wait for a time for the inspector to come, but now I have a thing in between that. I have to schedule a time for a guy to come, find and fix the leak, and then after that come back again, third time with the inspector to prove that the system is not leaking, and then we can finally turn on the gas. Fortunately, they were able to schedule the leak fixing guy. He came out here 2 days ago and he went to work to try to find the problem. The first thing he did was pull my stove out in the kitchen. I only had gas to 2 places in the house before. The generator's the third, right? So the existing gas is this line here, which goes along here and kind of under at least one of the remaining tiny bits of ceiling. And then along here, and then down, and then finally into the boiler. So that's the gas line for the boiler. The other one here goes off to the kitchen. And the thing about that one, and we'll get back to this in a minute, is as you can see, it goes through the wall here. And let's take a look at what's on the other side of the wall. A finished basement. So that gas line goes through here somehow, and the kitchen is over there. So it's got to make a 90-degree turn, and the kitchen's kind of above this bar area. But obviously none of this is accessible, so I'm really hoping that that's not the problem. So the first thing the guy does is he pulls my stove out, and he says to me, oh, that valve has to go. So I have the valve here that we're talking about, and this is an old-fashioned plug style valve, and he said this is no good because this won't hold pressure during the pressure test. That might be the whole problem. So we'll just replace the valve, we'll test it, and maybe everything's good. And he did put on a new ball valve, closed it, installed his pressure gauge right here, pressurized it up to 4.6 psi. I have a picture of that. And he tapped it for a while. He was tapping on it, and he said this is a really good sign because a lot of times when you have a leak and you tap on it, you can see it kind of vibrate, and this is holding very, very steady. So I think we might have solved the problem. And I said, great. He said, it has to hold for 15 minutes though. So he went outside, he went out to his truck, and he took a smoke break. And when he came back in, the gauge was at 4.5. So it had dropped a tiny, tiny amount, which unfortunately is more than 0. So at that point, he started doing his leak testing procedure. He just soaped the crap out of everything here that we could see. Is just soap every single joint, every single connection here, every fitting, and hope for bubbles. Because if we can see the bubbles, we can fix it. But if the problem is somewhere in the middle of this line that we can't see, and who knows how many couplings there are in there, who knows how many, there's definitely a 90-degree elbow over here somewhere. We know that. So he soaped it up, and we crossed our fingers, but we didn't see any bubbles. So we closed the valve, and the pressure continued to drop very slowly, and without any bubbles here where we could see it, and without any bubbles on the kitchen end of the thing either. If you look at this pipe, out of everything in here, I mean, this is pretty old. It's pretty crappy, and the one to the boiler looks a lot better. So if something's, I could believe that something's not right with that, but it's possible it was never right. Well, what it means is I have to make another appointment, first of all, and wait for them to find a time when the installation crew can come back out here. And they're going to have to replace that pipe. And to do that, they're going to have to make some holes. So first of all, if we open up, we got to figure out where it makes that 90-degree turn, and I think I know the answer to that because I can kind of see the pipe. There's like this closet over here, and if I go in there, I can look this way, and I can actually see the gas pipe running across here. There's a little opening in there, and I can see that gas pipe. So I know, like, we could kind of triangulate it and figure out where it makes that 90-degree turn. Open this area up, and we should be able to find that. Once we do that, we can disconnect the 90-degree elbow, which will free up this pipe to be pulled back through here and cut and removed, and then a new piece fed through, just like they did over here, right? They can feed a new pipe all the way back to where this one is. And that gets rid of that section. In fact, we could at that just do that and then say, well, let's see, maybe that solved the problem. But I think I just want to replace this all while we're at it. So the way to do that is then to open this up here, figure out where it goes up to the kitchen, cut this open here, and then that should give us total access. So we got a pipe running from over there to over here, assuming that it's just a straight line. They should, again, be able to feed it out through this hole and remove that pipe, and then they'll give them enough working room here to feed a new pipe in all the way back to the corner. Connect the 90 and then connect the fitting that goes up to the kitchen. And then I should have replaced this entire line at that point. And that should solve my problem and also just give me a brand new pipe. No point in trying to repair this leak one little piece at a time if it's all this sort of old crappy pipe that's starting to rot out. So the problem, of course, is this introduces another delay, and it's gonna be expensive. So I'm gonna have to deal with that because that's just the way these things go. And so that's the current situation. I'm waiting for these folks to give me a call with a day that they can come and do this work. In the meantime, I have scheduled next week, middle of the week, they're going to come and start doing the electrical work, which is a 2-day job. And I assume, much like this, they'll do the electrical work, but they won't be able to connect it until there's some sort of electrical inspection. So I will have another appointment after that. But I'm hoping that I can get this plumbing thing taken care of so that this doesn't become the holdup. Once the electrical stuff is ready to go and the plumbing stuff is ready to go, I'm done. I can fire up the generator. So if I'm waiting here for this, that's just going to be really annoying because we have everything sort of set to go. Plus it's December now. I started this project in, what was it, August? And I now own the generator. I've paid for the generator and I would like to be able to use the generator. So that's the December 1st update in terms of the homeowner diaries, what it's like to purchase and get a generator installed and hooked up. And I'll keep you informed as the situation develops. See you in the next one. Bye.